Back in Statesboro, Georgia, summer-like fall day. It's 82 degrees here. It was 50 degrees last week in Troy. Well, summer is back, at least for this final Saturday. Actually, the first Saturday of November. Georgia State leading the all-time series 2-1, including a 30-24 victory last year in the Georgia Dome. Sean Elliott, first-year head coach of the Panthers.
We're living. Just living life.
Georgia Southern will get the ball first. Miles Campbell takes it at the 5.
Lost the football. Georgia State picks it up, and the Panthers going to return it into the end zone for a touchdown. Chandon Sullivan. What a way to start the football game here in Statesboro. Looking, going to go downfield. He's got a man. Pennyhart caught at the 40. 35-30, 25-20. They're going to drag him down inside the 10. Snap to Manning. He'll roll out. He's got a man. It is caught.
Catch.
Touchdown, Georgia State. Roger Carter.
Roger Carter, I had no idea who you were coming in today, but guess what? I know who you are now, young fella.
Pitch works, goes to Fields. Fields, he fumbled the ball. It's scooped up by the Panthers, and they've got new life.
And he's got a man in the corner. It's up, and it is caught. It's a touchdown, Georgia State. Pressure on Wirtz. He's got the football on the ground.
Get him down. Yes!
Get him down. Ball game over.
Yeah.
Georgia State has beat Georgia.
Having won 5 of their last 6 football games, including 4 straight on the road, Georgia State football keeps the bags packed. They're headed to Texas State this weekend to take on the Bobcats. We're talking to Georgia State's head football coach Sean Elliott again this week on the Georgia State Sports Update. Hi again, Panther fans. Welcome into this week's Georgia State Sports Update. Dave Cohen joined by Georgia State's head football coach Sean Elliott. The Panthers back from Statesboro, and always great, as I like to say, to get on I-16 heading towards Macon with a W in your back pocket. And it wasn't the prettiest of games. If you were listening, if you were watching, if you were there, did just enough in that second half to get out of there with a win. And that's the 3rd straight win, by the way, for Georgia State over Georgia Southern.
Yeah, you know, if we do just enough to get the rest of our wins, we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. Our team, you know, what a way to go out and get that win. I mean, I really was proud of our football team. To go down 17-7 in the 3rd quarter, you know, you really don't know how the guys respond, but we thought they'd continue fighting and really pull something out, and they did. I mean, we kept fighting. We clawed back into it. Our bench never got down. Our heads never hung low, and we fought our tails off in the 4th quarter, and it was a great win. And the way our defense had to stop them right there at the end, it was fitting because our defense played one super game.
A couple of things I'll bring up early on. I think we can call it the magic of the coach's halftime speech. You know, I'm chicken scratching, writing down what you're telling Sam Crenshaw as you're walking off the walk-off interview, heading to the locker room at halftime. I can only imagine what the locker room was like on Saturday when you went in down at Georgia Southern.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with it. I mean, some coaches go in there and yell and scream, and truly, I got with our offensive coaches, and I got on them, to tell you the truth. I mean, I just closed the door. They probably didn't like hearing anything I said. I mean, but I really challenged them, and then my message was, hey, we don't need to go out and berate these kids out here. So we need to go out and be positive and go tell them let's make 30 minutes the one of the most exciting times of their lives, something they're going to remember the rest of their life, and give them encouragement to come out of that locker room, because I knew we were going to change it. I mean, I knew there was things that we had to do in our run game. There was things we had to do otherwise, but I knew it would be a much better second half, and we had to stay with those players and stay behind them.
Once again, Coach, a great start, third consecutive week that the defense comes up with a turnover or forces a turnover. In this instance, forces a fumble. Chandon Sullivan returns it 28-0, and before I could even blink an eye, we're up 7-0.
Yeah, you know, it's like an opening kickoff. You return an opening kickoff back for a touchdown. I always kind of stay even keel, because normally it goes the opposite way. You get too high right off the start, and they come back. And so, yeah, it was great to see him make a play. I mean, it was just unbelievable. He goes in there and picks that ball up, returns it 28 yards for the touchdown. And, you know, we're off to a 7-0 start. And, you know, I talked to our football team, if we can jump on them fast, I don't know how they'll actually respond, but they had a lot of fight to them as well, and came back, drove it down, made the score 7-7, and then I knew we were in for a ball game.
Yeah. One thing that was surprising about Georgia Southern, at least this year, was I go into that game always, and we talked about this last week and on your radio show about run, and then maybe a pass, and then a whole lot more running plays. They seem to throw the ball a lot more.
It really did. Our defense was really stifling the run. I mean, for the most part. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of big yardage out there. And, you know, sometimes if you stick with that too long, you can get behind and never be able to catch up. So they went to the pass a little bit more, and actually did fairly well with it. I mean, Wirtz was completing balls, the receivers were making plays, but we weren't giving up the big play, in which I always said, if you don't give up that big play, it's hard for that offense to continue to drive it without making a mistake. And, you know, there in the fourth quarter, they go back to the option really, which totally shocked me. I thought they would pound us up front, because we were a little beat up and we had lost a couple guys, and I thought they'd just hand it off up the middle a few times and try to run out some clock. But, man, they pulled that pitch out, and that ball went to the ground, and I was like, you know, somebody's looking out for us.
James Traylor had a really good day on Saturday. Came up with one but two huge plays.
Yeah, you know, but everybody on the defense did. I mean, they're just their positioning is so critical for our defense, and they're not getting out of positions. If they're just making the plays they're supposed to make. They don't have to do anything, you know, unbelievable. Just go do the things that you're asked to do, and the plays are there to be made, and they were there.
Again, we're talking to Georgia State's head football coach, Shawn Elliott, and we're going to talk a little more about Georgia Southern. We'll preview some of the trip to Texas State. But right now, your football team's 5-3 overall, 4 straight wins in road games, 4-1 in the Sun Belt, and nipping at the heels of the two that are in front of us.
Well, we've got Texas State ahead of us. You know, you can reflect on your season after the fact. I mean, there's no sense in pinpointing, you know, all that stuff right about now. I think if you go and you played the Texas State game the way we're supposed to play it, you know, those things will fall in place. I do like the fact that you can talk to your football team about, hey, it's November and everything's to play for. I mean, everything's to play for. So I do throw that out there to us, but sometimes you can lose sight of what you got to do the very, very next week when you talk a little bit further out. So we'll wait until after the season to kind of see where we end up.
But just throughout your career, whether it was a player or a coach at Appalachian State or a coach at South Carolina, folks that have followed Georgia State football know in the very short history of the program, it's been tough to get wins on the road. And this team has played pretty well on the road this year. At least in the case of Georgia Southern, well enough to come out of there with a win. Like
I said, anytime you can get a win, we play pretty good. So I'll take it. Yeah, you know, I don't know what it is. Our routine's the same. Yep. Whether it's home or away, we do the exact same routine. The only difference is we sometimes get on a bus or a plane and get to that hotel. And once we get there, like I said, the routine stays the same. I don't know if that helps or not. Maybe we're just a little bit more focused on the road than we are at home. I don't think so. I think it's consistency in our plan and our message and how we prepare.
So much to talk about. It's taken me this long to bring up Penny Hart, who, of course, caught the touchdown pass 9 yards out from Connor Manning. They had great chemistry again on Saturday, a couple of big plays. Penny Hart, 8 catches, 191 yards, breaking his own team record, and he comes up with, you know, big touchdown, one of the biggest touchdowns of the year, to say the least.
When Connor threw the pass, I immediately said, "God, should have went to the flat." I mean, because I thought we could get a little bit closer and have an opportunity to do something from there. But when he let the ball go, I just looked up, and Penny's not the tallest guy. And anytime you throw the flag route right there, you like for that taller guy that can go up. But the preciseness of that pass to Penny was right on the money. And when you see it, and when you go back and rewatch it, you kind of look and say, how does he make that throw?
Yeah.
And then to make the catch.
Right.
I mean, to make the catch. I got a good friend of mine. He always says football's a game of inches. And it was certainly probably maybe an inch in between that one being complete or incomplete.
Yeah, he dropped that right in there
He
over
really
the DB. Connor had a pretty good day considering 22 of 37, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just the 1 interception.
I think that's a pretty solid day of work.
Yeah. Well, for Georgia State, they end up getting the win at Georgia Southern. They've now beaten Georgia Southern 3 consecutive years. And as we were talking about getting ready to go to Texas State, keeping the bags packed, one thing I heard you say when addressing the team earlier this week at practice, they've got nothing to lose. What are they, 2-6? They're sitting back, lying in wait, 2-7. They're sitting back, lying in wait for Georgia State to come in there on Saturday.
Yeah, and I very rarely reference the team about what they got. But, when we go into it, we really got to focus on what we've got to gain. I mean, where we are. Like I said, we're playing in November with something. There's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
But the Texas State program is real similar in our program. Is they made their coaching change a year ago. They're in year 2. He's trying to build it the right way. I'm sure there's a lot of push from their coaching staff to do things correctly, and it's going to get done. I know their staff. I know their head coach. He's a Appalachian alum, and I understand what he's trying to instill in that football program. So I expect a huge fight from those guys, and to say it's going to be anything else at this point in the season, I don't think you can.
Yeah, no such thing as an easy game. Well, a few too many penalties. I know that you weren't happy about it. Georgia Southern, almost 100 yards, 10 penalties for 99. We're going to cut down on that, especially when you're going on the road.
Really do. I mean, we had the 10 penalties, and so uncharacteristic of our football team for this year. We had a crucial penalty on our sideline bench right there that kept us out of a field goal opportunity that was just really, really frustrating. But all in all, it wasn't a clean game for us penalty-wise. Something you can't go in and be a successful football team and have multiple penalties like that.
Yeah. All right, lastly, again, as you said, playing meaningful games in November, huge step for this program.
There's no question about it. I think the energy and the enthusiasm at practice, the team morale, everything about playing meaningful games in November builds your football program. There's still a lot of buzz about you in the media. I mean, everything that's surrounding your program is positive at this point. And, it hasn't happened a lot. It hasn't happened a lot. And I told these guys that you got to understand, we're in November. I mean, there's a lot at stake. But, for us to go lose sight and start thinking about those things a little bit further out and not focus on Texas State, then we're going to have some issues. So, but yeah, meaningful games in November, I'm all for them.
All right, Coach, as always, appreciate it. We'll see you out in San Marcos, and let's bring another W home from Texas this week.
We're going to work, and we're going to do our very best, and we'll see if our road, I guess, victories continue.
All right, I want to thank Georgia State's head football coach, Sean Elliott, joining us here in the opening segment of the Georgia State Sports Update.
Lost the football. Georgia State picks it up, and the Panthers going to return it into the end zone for a touchdown. Chandon Sullivan. Connor looking, going to go downfield. He's got a man. Pennyhart caught at the 40, 35-30, 25-20. They're going to drag him down inside the 10. Snap to Manning. He'll roll out. He's got a man. It is caught. Touchdown, Georgia State. Roger Carter. High snap. Wirtz has got it. Here's the pitch. Over here to Fields. Football! He dropped the football. Recovered by Georgia State. James Traylor got it. Manning looks. And he's got a man in the corner. It's up and it is caught. Is it a touchdown? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Touchdown, Georgia State. Ball game over. Georgia State has clock ran out. Georgia State wins the ball game here in Statesboro. Final score 21-17.
Joined right now on the Georgia State Sports Update, the head coach of the Georgia State softball team. It's Roger Kincaid. Roger, great to have you here on the Georgia State Sports Update. Coming off a 36-win season a year ago, and you've already played your short fall schedule and getting ready for the opener. I know it's not till February, but it's a busy time for softball as you get ready for a long stretch of the season.
It is, and we had a successful exhibition season in the fall. We got to find out a little bit about our 3 incoming freshmen, what they can do, what they can't do, what they need to work on. And, I'm proud of them. I thought they showed up prepared, which you always worry about.
Right.
And I thought they showed up with a mature attitude and went to work. And, I'm glad to have them. The first time in a long time we've had a freshman class that came in that acted the way they do. They felt like they fit in with the team, and I think they did. So it's a small class, but, we're happy to have them.
Again, 36 wins last year, 36-25. Ended up getting eliminated in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, but then you made a postseason tournament, a relatively new softball postseason tournament.
We did, and it's a national invitational tournament. It was the first year, and it's one of those kind of deals where we feel like it's a tournament that was important to be in the first year to get in on the ground floor. And I think it's going forward, it's going to be a big tournament as an alternative to the NCAA tournament. And we were excited to host. Actually, it was a good deal. Charlie was gracious enough to allow us to host, and I think it was a successful event. And it was a lot of fun. And it's always good to extend your season. I mean, the kids at the end of the year, they're not ready to be done. So right. It gave us the opportunity to play another week, play another 4 or 5 games, and we really enjoyed it.
I guess in terms of people thinking about the NCAA basketball tournament, would you call it the equivalent of the NIT or the WNIT?
Yeah, exactly that. That's what I use the analogy when I'm talking to people about it. Now it's the first year,
right.
So it's got some growing stuff to do, but from that standpoint, it's exactly the same. We look forward to that tournament growing and getting bigger and bigger, and I think it's a viable option for some teams, that fall just short of the NCAA tournament. And the qualifications, you had to be invited to the tournament. I mean, it wasn't one of those deals where you just show up.
Again, we're talking to Roger Kincaid, softball coach, and you got 6 seniors on your softball team this year, and 3 of them are heavy hitters, 2 of them literally heavy hitters. You got what I call the Bash sisters, Ivy Drake and Megan Latumbe, and they've kind of been going back and forth with regards to the all-time home run leaders contest. And then you got one of your top pitchers is one of your seniors as well in Kinsley Jennings.
Yeah, those 2 kids, we're going to miss them when they leave. Obviously, they provide a lot of power in our lineup. They protect each other. We bat one of them in front of the other, depending on which one's hot. We'll bat them in the 3 spot, the 4 spot, and just kind of move them around. But they've been good for Georgia State, and the thing I'm most impressed with them outside softball is they're good people.
Yeah.
They make good grades, and they're gonna be a good contributor to society when they leave. And then as far as KJ is concerned, she transferred in last year, and when you get a transfer, you never really know what you're going to get until they show up and start doing the work. And we've been extremely pleased with her performance. And she can also hit, so she'll probably get an opportunity to hit and pitch this year. And Megan and Ivy we're going to miss, but we're also going to miss the whole senior class. That class has been around, for 4 years now. They've done everything we've asked them to do. They're good leaders. They're good in the classroom, and they kind of stir the drink for us. They're the straw that stirs the drink, so to speak, and it's going to be tough to wave bye to those kids.
Yeah, especially players that have been here for the full 4 years. Again, no knock on Kinsley. She transferred in from South Carolina Upstate or USC Upstate, so she was here for 2 years. It's the 4-year producers like that are really the ones that's tough to say, goodbye.
Yeah, it is, and in this business, it all cycles in, it cycles out, and I've been doing this for 10 years now, and you kind of think you'd get used to seniors leaving, and I tell you, I haven't gotten used to it yet. It's tough. Every year with senior day, I'd say it's it's the happiest day and the saddest day all rolled into one, because you don't want to say goodbye to them. So, but it's an important class for us. I've challenged them to go out with a bang, and they're pretty serious about it, and I think they've been working really hard.
So again, as you mentioned to me earlier, it's signing day this week, the week that we are taping this show, and so there's some pretty big shoes to fill and bats to hold that you got to replace.
Those are big shoes, and we've got some players coming in that I can't sit here and tell you as freshmen they're going to walk in and take those shoes. I know they'll come in right away and they'll compete. And that's where we are in our recruiting process right now, is we're trying to replace kids that are going to come in and compete right away for a spot.
Yeah.
We have probably in the last 3 years not been in a position where we had to have a freshman come in and start because of the depth that we have in the rest of our classes. So that's a good position to be in. Not saying that freshmen don't come in and start, because if they come in and do the work, we don't care what class they're in. But from a depth standpoint, we've reached that standard as a program to where we're not really plugging in a freshman to replace a senior, because we've got a kid that's been in the program that we hope is going to take that spot. So, but it's a good class coming in. It's an exciting class. We've got some hitters. We got some speed. We've got some good stuff coming down the line. So I'm excited about them.
Well, since we're talking recruiting and we're taping the show as we do each and every week in this beautiful locker room that houses the Georgia State University football team here at Georgia State Stadium, granted, softball doesn't play at Georgia State Stadium, but this facility has a huge effect positively on your recruiting efforts.
Oh, it's been tremendous for us. It is the first thing that we show now. We do a tour of the stadium. We also do a tour of this locker room, even though it's not a softball locker room, because it is an impressive facility and it does reflect, where we are as a program, where we want to be as a program, and I'm talking about the entire athletic program. And people are noticing that. When we go out recruiting and we're standing around talking to other coaches and we're talking to people, this building always comes up. They ask questions about it. How does it look? What are you doing? When we post photos, on the internet and on social media, everybody always comments on what it is. This has been a tremendous asset for Georgia State University and also for the athletic department. And, I just tell people, just keep an eye on us, because this is only the beginning. There's going to be other things go up around here. There's going to be other things to do. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on that's going to make us be in the front eye and the top shelf of what's happening in the metro Atlanta area and also in the state. So it's been great for us, and we're real pleased to be a part of it.
And let me just follow that up by saying, to take nothing away from the fabulous Robert E. Heck Field that houses Georgia State softball out of Panthersville.
No doubt about it. And we have an indoor facility. A lot of people, if you're not involved in softball, you don't know that. We have an indoor facility that has a full infield. We have batting cages. We have pitching lanes. We have tee areas. We have a locker room, coach's office, umpire. We have a facility, indoor facility, that I would put up as one of the finest in the country. And it's a tremendous asset for us in recruiting. So we're excited about that. It continues to be something that we can show. But this building right here is it's the top notch, and it helps tremendously for us to be able to showcase it.
All right, real quick, someone here on the set, and it's not me, decided that it would be great to schedule South Florida, Florida, and Michigan as your first 3 games of the season. Kidding aside, you've put together a very competitive non-conference, a challenging non-conference schedule as you get ready for what will be a tough Sun Belt run.
Yeah, and we try to do that every single year. We might have overachieved this year with our schedule. I don't know, but our kids love it. I mean, when they found out who we were playing the first weekend, they're ready to go. I mean, it put a little pep in their step. Made workouts a little more fun, but. We got to play the best to be the best and to beat the best, and that's always been our theory. And it worked out this year to where we're playing two really tough teams to begin with. The third team's no cupcake, and it should be a lot of fun. And we're going to be down in that environment. It's the opening weekend. The weather should be great in South Florida, and I know we'll have a lot of parents, a lot of friends, a lot of family down there. And it should be really fun, and our kids are pumped. I mean, they're real excited about it.
Real quick, Georgia State, Texas State, Louisiana Lafayette, and South Alabama. Is it pretty much not necessarily in that order? Hopefully Georgia State's atop that heap by the time we get to the end, but those pretty much right there, the biggest challenge in the Sun Belt?
That is, and everybody's a challenge, but yeah, that would be the top tier. And we go into every season not taking anybody for granted because, you know, every season stands on its own. I mean, just because somebody didn't do well last year doesn't mean that they won't do well this year.
Sure.
You're always one pitcher away from winning a championship. So, you know, we go into it with that attitude. But it's a tough conference. I mean, it's a really tough softball conference, and you know, we're proud to be in it, and we love competing. I mean, this year the conference tournament will be at Lafayette, so that should be fun because that atmosphere is, you know, one of the best in college softballs to play in, and you know, we're excited about that. But you know, first things first, you know, we got the preseason, and then we got the regular season and the postseason. So we'll attack it one segment at a time.
Coach, great to have you here. Good luck, and we'll be watching Georgia State softball all season.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you having me.
All right, I want to thank Georgia State softball coach Roger Kincaid. As we turn to basketball, it's been a pretty good week for Ron Hunter and the Panthers. They played 2 exhibition games at the Sports Arena. They beat Lees-McRae by scoring 100. They beat Coker College the other night by scoring 99 as they get ready for the season opener Friday night at the Georgia State Sports Arena. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the 2 exhibition games this week at the arena.
It's the 3rd game in a row that neither team shot over 40%, which is kind of a goal of ours when we do that, whether it was Georgia Tech or Lee or these guys. So I think defensively we're starting to get there. We're not where I want to be right now, but we are getting there. We got veterans that understand our matchup, and the young guys are starting to figure it a little bit out. But overall, it's a good exhibition. I'm glad we were able to play 3 of them. I think they helped, especially opening up with Georgia Tech, because I thought it gave us a lot more confidence. And so we're a team that's really confident right now. So we're ready to play. We're ready to start the season and move on. Well, I think, as I said, I think this year one of the great things, the combination of our 5 spots is going to be really nice. I mean, if you look at what happened at the Georgia Tech game, and then JT with his concussion didn't play the last one, and guess what? We didn't rebound very well. And so, you know, we get 21 rebounds from at one spot. That's never happened since I've been here. And they both blocked shots and they could rebound. So that position, you know, got us a double-double right there. And so instead of that being just the weakest part of our position, just one of our strengths of our team. And that, so his physicality is something that's really good, and he's just starting to come along. You know, he really hadn't played in 2 years, and you know, because the year before that he had the broken arm. So, but he's starting to come. He's going to be a force in the Sun Belt. There's no question. His size is something we haven't had, and he's left-handed, so it's a little awkward with that. So, I really like what he brings and what he does. He pushes Jordan Session.
So busy weekend in Georgia State athletics coming up. Friday night, head coach Ron Hunter and the Panthers going to open up the 2017 college basketball season. They've got Carver Bible College inside the Georgia State Sports Arena. Sharon Baldwin's women's basketball team, they've got a tough opener. They're down in Gainesville, Florida Saturday to take on the Florida Gators. And we're with football out in San Marcos, Texas, as head coach Sean Elliott and the Panthers looking for that all-important 6th win, take on the Texas State Bobcats down in San Marcos. That'll do it for our show this week. For the entire crew and head coach Sean Elliott and softball coach Roger Kincaid, I'm Dave Cohen. We'll see you next week right here on the Georgia State Sports Update.